Hi, my name is Yulia Kriskovets, and I'm on the communications team of the Feldenkrais Guild of North America. And I'm so pleased to have Stacy Barrows here with me today. And Stacy is not just a Feldenkrais practitioner, she's also a doctor of physical therapy, and she is the inventor of a smart roller. And we are excited that she will be teaching a workshop at the upcoming Feldenkrais conference in September. So I'm here with Stacy today to ask her some questions. Welcome.
Thank you.
So Stacy, I know your workshop will involve a lot of rocking. So can you talk a little bit about that?
Absolutely. Thank you very much, by the way, Yulia. When I saw the title of our theme this year, I was very excited because rocking has been something I've been fascinated for a while. And when I realized when I started kind of diving back into it, how far back it goes. So I do want to give a shout out for Ruthie Alon, who's just this wonderful master that I know we're going to acknowledge, that taught so many of us this idea of biologic optimism. And I love that idea. And I think what I'd like to facilitate is bringing people back to the experience of the rocking motion with a Feldenkrais attitude to create the conditions to learn from that. So why rocking? I'm just going to bring a little bit of history back because I started to think about it more and I realized I was exposed in my very early education as a physical therapist. And I was fortunate enough that I was one of my clerkships, which is where you get some observation, was at the Kennedy Study Child Center. And that's where that was kind of foundational centers of sensory integration. So you worked with children and you use a lot of different types of modalities to help facilitate integration through their senses. So I started reflecting on that recently, realizing, wow, that's right. That's really where I think and Dr. Jean Ayres was such a master and it was an occupational therapist when I was promoting this workshop saying, and referencing things. And I realized, oh, that's right. That's where I got excited to think about. So anyway, I then, a couple of years ago, I was preparing for this, the Art of Standing workshop, which looked at the biologics of standing posture. And I came across an interesting paper that referenced what was going on ships and how that was really optimizing organically people. And it lasted a while off the ships as well. In fact, they looked at where they were positioned on the ship, which gave the most results. So back in the day when they used to, put people, they thought it was the fresh air, the ocean air. It was really the rocking that probably was stimulating things. So that was kind of interesting. So I really held on to that thinking. And then I've also been literally so excited that rocking chairs and it made me think about cradles and then I realized, well, wait a minute, I was always witnessing rocking motion when people were on the smart roller, which is a designed roller that has a topsy-turvy effect like a toy, so it rights itself. And I realized that I was watching people doing this rocking movement and I would slow them down. I would use the kind of way we would talk in awareness through movement to help bring their guidance into their attention. And I saw them down regulate. I saw them change from uptight, stimulated posture to a very calm state. So in the medical world, we understand that as being more in a parasympathetic state, which means a rest and relax or rest and digest kind of modality of that. So that being said, and so over time, I started to really enforce people getting rocking chairs back. And I was fascinated to see that there's studies of looking at the rocking motion now, not just is it improving people's sleep, but there's memory consolidation or integration. So we're seeing these things that are really um, are at our disposal that are very innate. And rocking's just, we can look at how it affects the liquids of our systems, our lymph systems, which are really important for our immunity, so that we really take care of ourselves in that state. So it kind of keeps going back to this biologic optimism. So I thought rocking would be a fun thing to really explore.
So would you connect it also to vestibular system development for children?
Absolutely. Absolutely. So we're seeing a variety of things. Like I said, the rocking movement definitely is affecting the vestibular, the inner ear. People don't really know that terminology. So there we have these mechanisms that ride us to gravity. And when we do things with that don't threaten us, that are very safe. For instance, a roller coaster would get you a more stimulated response. But a rocking, like when a cradle or when a mother rocks a baby. In fact, there's a study back. I have to look and see if it's been updated, but there was a study of when they were measuring these monkeys that had the mother removed, and they put this robotic monkey in place, and the ones that didn't move, the monkeys didn't flourish. But when we created a rocking movement, mother-ish, the monkeys flourished and they actually benefited from that. So this is something that we've seen in a variety of ways. So yes, it's through vestibular system, it's through our self-touch that we can use. We have a lot of things that we can access.
Wow, thank you. That's very interesting. And are there things that you do in your daily life, in your own sort of daily regimen that involves rocking?
Yeah, I think one of the things that we're looking at the fixes of why desk work and Zoom sessions, are so challenging for us, and we know that it takes our senses with us. There's a hypnotic, way that our devices, really shift our perception. So the things that we can do is just recognize when we are very static, and we know that breath has changed when we're sitting for long periods of time with our focused attention. We know that we don't use what's a natural postural sway. So yeah, there's ways that we can easily access just to the simplest state of noticing that we are maybe a little too quiet in our
Mm.
stagnation there. And we have glandular systems that first of all, our lymph, which is a whole different kind of circulatory system than our arterial or our blood supply, because we have a pump, we have our heart. But lymph relies on us moving. And I think what Feldenkrais offers for us is that we can provide more of our personal space in our movement, because we are always working on how to organize and integrate our whole selves. So yes, that's how we can bring it into our daily lives a lot easier, and hopefully do things that can kind of help us prime ourselves for getting ready to go to sleep. I think also there's a study of looking at rocking chairs in nursing homes that really impacted these people that were had dementia states, and they were requiring less medication, they were less combative, they were not requiring as much nurse attention. So my parents came kicking and shoving, but they got rocking chairs, and now I love that they literally are in them all the time when I go up and visit, rather than just kind of sinking into the couch or something like that.
Wow. Yeah, lots to think about and maybe change some furniture in your house.
Totally.
But
Well, and
I,
I actually
yeah.
had a client bring me, he said, I've got this great office chair. And I said, really? Well, anytime somebody tells me what's great, and he was a professional writer, and it turns out it's a Swedish made, and it's so simple, but it's a rocking chair. It's an office chair that's a rocking chair, and it's so simplistically made that it doesn't take a lot to move it around. It's just a regular chair, and so, but it's got enough facilitatory access that you could easily just get out of that stagnant state. So yeah.
Yeah, it reminds me of these one-legged stools that are used for some at some schools for children,
Mhm.
to help them have this constant movement, for jittery children. Um, calms them down a lot.
Right, exactly. And you know, I'm been a physical therapist for a long time, so I remember when gymnastic balls or Swiss balls were brought into play because of their three-dimensional shape. And that's why rollers were just primed to come into the next easy state of simplicity, and how we can shape our environment to to create a way to go much more internally and work with what we call the interoceptive self. What makes us feel our connectedness to this? And that helps us with our fascia, which now people are starting to learn is the mechanism that has wraps everything, and it's a conduit. It's got our electrical activity and our nervous system connections. So we need these things, and it's, you know, it's important that we start recognizing how to get back to that.
Yes, and when I think about rocking, I immediately have the picture of the babies that rock on the ground, roll actually on the ground,
Mhm.
that gives them eventually a way to transition to, from one position to another. Is
Right.
there also that element in your workshop that you're going to touch upon, or is that outside of the scope of what you'll be working
Well,
with?
I definitely I'll draw in the child development state of that. And we also know that rocking is a soothing mechanism. So it's, you know, it's something that if we are just made more aware of, we can access getting to that state. And definitely I will draw on that. I think it's important to just, you know, appreciate, because everybody can reference when you are seeing an expected mother, she gets a rocking chair as a gift, right? We know that we all know the story of, you know, JFK, one of our presidents, who had severe back pain. By the way, it definitely helps modulate pain. So
Hmm.
so anyway, he was given, you know, rocking chairs. And you know, why I went for a run the other day in my local neighborhood, and you know, I had this workshop in my mind, and I was fascinated to see that in these really high-rise, beautiful homes in Manhattan Beach, I saw multiple houses that had these white rocking chairs, kind of Adirondack-looking chairs on their porches. I thought, what, isn't that neat? If people are starting to think that this is kind of an architectural design. And then I saw hammocks, you know, and I thought, you know, people really, you know, are drawn to it without being coached of why they should do it, which is great.
Yeah,
So
I
in the workshop, what I'd like to do is obviously give a background to the science, evolve the understanding of the childhood development. We will use the smart ruler because it's shaped in such a way that, like I mentioned, you know, in our modern, you know, bodies and our postures, you know, back in the day when we could lie on a full 6-inch roller, which is great, I love them, but for most of us, we don't have the capacity that our chest wall, and we know the mechanism of breath is really important. So we want to make sure that we can allow our chest cavity to have the integrity it needs to be able to open that space and doesn't feel threatened, doesn't feel even a good pain. You know, it's important that we find those elements that our nervous system really knows how to be coached back into comfort. And comfort is one of the things that have felt, it's one of the hallmark things of Feldenkrais, is recognizing the value of the learned state and to prime that. So that doesn't mean we don't have effort. It doesn't mean we don't, but we want to make sure that we can scaffold onto that. So we will be doing little, and you don't have to have a smart roller. We can find ways to use. I'll have everybody have a rolled blanket so that we can kind of adapt these easy things. And there's an easy way to make your sitting into a rocking chair, just regular sitting. So I'm going to evolve that into an awareness through movement lesson that I think would be kind of fun.
Wow, I'm excited about your workshop. Any parting words for our audience? Anything you want to share at the end of our conversation?
Well, one thing that I thought was a wonderful thing with the company that does have the smart roller is they are offering a discount. So if somebody was interested in exploring using a smart roller, having one, they will be offering a discount for that. But like I said, it's not a necessity. It's important that we just know that this is a very easy, accessible tool modality that can help us work a lot of different systems of our well-being, and going back to that biological optimism.
Well, I can't wait for your workshop. I took your workshop back at the conference that took place in Washington, D.C., and I got a lot out of it. And I look forward to the new workshop that you're offering. So thank you so much for sharing your knowledge and wisdom with us. And I hope to see you soon in September.
Great. Thank you so much. Great to be here.